tug at the driver's arms and try to get his helmet off. All the necessary splints and things will have been put into position, and then Bertie will have been lifted out of the car, and it looked to me as though he had been lifted out of the car and was being put into the ambulance on that last shot we saw. And that is Kimi Raikkonen running in, because his car was stopped, has been stopped in the loop after turn 22, and turn 22 is the bus stop. So Kimi Raikkonen, for some reason, running in as the stretcher there is carried away.
Pointless. He will not be allowed to start the race in the spare car. The race is way too old to be introducing spare cars into the equation. But what bothers me about the Luciano Berti incident is that those tyres can come into the cockpit. I remember going off in Manicourt at the hairpin once like that with a suspension failure and at a lower speed. And the tyres tend to come up the nose and come into the cockpit. And of course, to a certain extent, you are exposed in that situation. So,
although since the appalling accident which resulted in the loss of Ayrton Senna at the San Marino Grand Prix in 1994, the cockpit sides have been very much lifted. Here's a replay. See Eddie Irvine trying to take his racing line as Bertie is alongside him, and that was the collision.
Yeah, I don't want to see too many more replays of this one, please. Eddie Irvine also having a sizable accident, but clearly he's okay. Yeah.
Well, there we are. You can see that they are slowly making their way towards the special car there, and we can but hope that all is going to be well for Luciano long term. He had a dramatic enough season before this, because he started off with Jaguar, of course, and then lost his place in the Jaguar team and was seconded to the Prost team.
Ce que l'on sait, c'est que tout va bien pour Eddie Irvine. Et Alain Prost a déjà
So, no words of mine can really add to the pictures you're already seeing. I'm afraid I don't know any more than you do exactly what is happening down at the scene of the accident, except that the fact that those blanket screens were still being held up indicates that Luciano Berti has not been put into an ambulance and removed from the accident scene. Meantime, all the drivers can do is what they are doing: reform on the grid, wait for another start, which would be the third attempt, and talk amongst themselves about what's happening. And Ron Dennis talking to Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard. Of course, the normal things that one would want to talk about at this time, as you see the appallingly damaged Prost there. Things like, for instance, is Mika Häkkinen going to be driving next year or not? It seems so totally irrelevant now. This is an indication of the fact that, as we all know, motor racing is dangerous. No one has ever tried to pretend that it isn't. Everything that can be done is done to make it as safe as possible, but it still remains a dangerous sport. You see the scene of the Luciano Berti Eddie Irvine accident on the exit to Blanchimont, and Louise Goodman is in the pits.
Yes, I'm down down in the Prost area in the pit lane. A few worried faces behind you, as you can imagine. I can tell you, though, I've spoken to a member of the team, and initial reports from race control suggest that Bertie is okay. Now, there was no further report beyond that. We don't know exactly what okay is, but that's the first news that we have.
Well, it would appear that they have got the Brazilian into the ambulance now. From the pictures we're looking at, Eddie Irvine's still down there, and as so very often happens, I remember when James Hunt and when Ronnie Peterson crashed at Monza in 1978, the race that sadly took his life. James Hunt was very much involved in getting him in the car. Racing drivers have to exhibit powers of leadership, and it's very obvious that that is what Eddie Irvine is doing. He's getting involved, and rightly so, in finding out what is happening.
It's good to see so much of the front of that Prost intact. So now it's really, did those supposed safety tyres really come into play? And as you said, Mary, Luciano looked as if he was certainly unconscious, and but the safety cell really has stayed superbly intact, hasn't it? I don't think Eddie Irvine has any blame at all in that incident. I don't believe he knew that Luciano Berti was coming around the outside of him, and there is a left curve before Blanchimont itself, and I think he was just taking the normal racing line. It wasn't a blocking incident. It was I think he just really hadn't quite clocked that Luciano got a run on him down the outside there. So I don't think Eddie Irvine has, in my view, any blame there. But there's a better shot of the Prost, and you can see the nose intact. So it's really just a question of, did anything ingress into the cockpit?
that Marshall incidentally is not having fun. He's not having a free ride. He needs to sit on the nose of the car, because obviously with the front wheels and the suspension removed and the engine at the back of the car, it would slide down out of the crane sling if something wasn't done to counterbalance it. And it's quite usual and traditional for marshals to do exactly what he has done. Now, of course, while we wait for the restart time to be confirmed, I can tell you that the pit lane exit has been closed, so there's no question of anybody getting on the course. We have to wait while the tyre wall is laboriously rebuilt. As you can see, there are batches of 9 tyres which are literally band-aid together. Some of them have been broken up, but normally the organisers have got spare batches in reserve so that they can be slotted in. But look, you see, he went off at the apex of the gravel there, and he went in where it's a very good thing that he didn't go in just a few yards later, because there was only one row of tyres. Craig Pollock on the left, Bernie Ecclestone on the right, Flavio Briatore in the glasses, talking about the accident and the restart, obviously, as the amber lights flash over the 5 traditional red lights which start the race.
It's a horrible time for everybody involved in Formula One when there's been a big accident and you don't know the circumstances, and there just seems to be a lack of information. It is a long way out to that corner, and it's unclear initially, and there's some uncertainty, a bit of misinformation occasionally, and it's just a very uncomfortable time.
So you can be absolutely sure that as soon as we get any information, we will tell you what happens. I'm like you, Martin. I think I've seen enough of this, but here it is again. Bertie continues across that very narrow section of the gravel trap. Look, you see about 10 yards further on, and there would not have been 3 rows of tyres there, the 9 tyre depth in all. There would have been at best 2 and probably 1, and those are the shattered remains of the Prost, and you can see what a colossal hit it took, with the radiators torn off, with the front suspension torn off both sides. That's Willy Rampf on the left, who is the Sauber designer, Jackie Eckelhardt, who is one of the race engineers. Michael Schumacher getting back into the car. I don't know why at the moment, because we still have no restart time. He's obviously checking out something inside the Ferrari, but the safety belts are being done up. Matter of interest, the driver cannot do up his own safety belt satisfactorily. The mechanics have to do it for him, because terrific tension